What's up, Zach Oates here, author, entrepreneur, and customer relationship guru. Welcome to Give an Ovation, growth strategies for restaurants and retailers, where we find industry leaders to share their secrets to grow your business. This podcast is brought to you by Ovation, the actionable guest feedback tool that works on or off premise and is easy, real-time, and actually drives revenue. Learn more at ovationup.com. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Give an Ovation. We have a bona fide CNBC featured celebrity with us today. We've got Josh Goodman, founder and CEO of PourMyBeer, over 200 locations, total rock star. Our worlds have collided through numerous ways over the last few years, and we just made all these connections. So I am excited that our culminating connection is this podcast, Josh. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to helping any way I can.
Yeah. So first of all, why don't you just kind of share a little bit about what does PourMyBeer do, just so we can have, so our listeners and viewers can have some context around this conversation.
So I don't claim to be the most impatient person in the world, but inefficiencies upset me or annoy me. And back in 2008, 9, I was at a bar and restaurant in Baltimore where I lived at the time, and I couldn't get a drink. And my friends and I were sitting there and we were complaining about it. And after about 20 minutes went by without getting a drink or even someone to take our order, I said, we should be able to pour our own drinks. And they all kind of laughed at me, and I was like, all right, well, I'm done here. I'm going to go home and I'm going to figure out how we can solve this problem. And
so they got drunk and you became a millionaire. There you go.
They remind me of that night a lot. But yeah, I mean, I didn't. Nothing was created instantly. But I started a PowerPoint presentation, and then I started talking to it about other people. And I didn't have an engineering background, so I kind of stumbled through and figured out how you could use mechanics like flow meters and valves and PCB boards to control the flow of alcohol. And then I had to basically become a paralegal to get the states to approve the concept. And 10 years later, we have 200 locations, our own proprietary technology, and I'd say about 5 to 6 years of really hard lessons of how not to start a business. But yeah, no, it's come full circle now.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all that success. You certainly earned it. There's the thinkers and the doers. And I think it's great when you meet people like yourself that can have their head in the clouds, but their feet on the ground. You got to have a tall character to do that. So appreciate you for doing that, being an example out there. Now, so you're working with these 200 locations. What things have you been seeing, as restaurants are going to be opening up again? We're going to be seeing these trends continue. There's going to be a new normal, but there's going to be a normal. What kinds of things are you seeing out there?
Yeah, it's the last few weeks, besides becoming a certified second grade teacher and fourth grade teacher for my children, in between that, I've been able to talk to a lot of really thought leaders in the industry. And I guess thought leaders is kind of a broad term, but just people that have been doing it for 20, 30, some 40 years in the hospitality industry and getting their thoughts. And there's two sides of the coin. There's the people that are very concerned of how this is going to transition back, or if it's going to transition back to a normal, or what the new normal is. And then there's the other side of people that are they're very optimistic that we're going to get through this. 3 to 4 months from now, we will have forgotten to some degree, not completely what we're going through right now, but it won't be as people won't be as nervous to return. And looking at it in phases, like, the 20 to 30-year-olds will come back a lot quicker than the, 40 to 50-year-olds, and the 40 to 50-year-olds are going to come back quicker than the 60 to 70-year-olds. And, who knows, maybe the 70 and 80-year-olds don't come back to the restaurant industry. It's yet to be determined, but the way they're preparing for it is very similar. It's, it's kind of like getting ready, to reopen your restaurant. So it's almost like a grand reopening. And they're looking at, at least from the self-pour perspective, to put in processes, procedures, and tools to ensure that guests feel comfortable and confident and safe in the establishment, without giving them the the hospital feel. You don't want to walk into a restaurant with the server with the mask on, gloves on, and it's got to be it's got to still feel good to be out. You don't want to feel unsafe or, just dramatically
Paranoid.
than you felt before.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, so how do you look at that? Well, I guess first let me take a step back. Where do you fall in terms of how do you think things are going to happen? Do you feel like there's going? Do you are
Yeah,
you
I
more in the
think
optimistic camp or what?
I'm leaning towards the optimistic camp. I feel like that, it's going to be a rough transition back. People are going to be anxious to get back, but I think, I don't know what the split's going to be, 50-50, 60-40. Some people are just not going to go out. They're going to wait. They're not, it's like they want to watch and see what happens with the people that do go out. And then they're going to kind of follow their lead. But,
Yeah, it's like that marketing curve, right? You have the early adopters, you have the early majority, the late majority, the laggards, and I think you're going to see coming back into it. You're going to see that same type of curve of people who not just early adopters, but really these people who are higher tolerance of risk or looking at their health profile. I think that's a great point, Josh.
yeah, and I think that, as restaurant, hopefully they're not too over restrictive on how many people are allowed to go back into a building. I actually heard one of our customers, Tapster, he said, I said, are you going to put like hand sanitizers everywhere? Are you going to have like gloves that they can use? He was like, no, I'm going to put up statistics that show how insanely impossible it is for them to die from coming to my place. And it's like, I mean, you can't really argue math.
Yeah.
It's an equation. It's a statistic. So I think it's just going to be a matter of getting over that initial fear bubble, and then getting back into a consistent going out, experiencing, hanging out with friends. Um, again, but if there's, as long as they have some of those measures in place, so people that are on the other end of the spectrum that are very nervous have some protective gaps for them. Whether it's literally like the gloves you see at Subway when you go and you get a sandwich made, they put the gloves on. Maybe you have gloves that for people that are a little more sensitive about touching the tap handle. But one of the things I was saying about occupancy is hopefully they don't say, hey, you could have 200 people in your place before this. Now you can have 100. So then you're limiting their ability to actually profit, because you can't cut the amount of people that can be there in half without cutting other things in half, like the rent or other aspects of operating.
Yeah, I was talking to a customer of mine yesterday. They have 60 locations in the South, and they were saying that some of these locations they're opening back up, they're allowing 10 people in the lobby, and it's like, well, how do I run a restaurant and like hire my people back with 10 people in the lobby? So anyway, there's going to be definitely some interesting things there. In terms of making it safe, but not sanitary, but not like hospital clean. How do you feel like people can strike that balance? How do you know where that balance is?
Yeah, I think there's the greeting, like and we have so many different types of customers. We have fast casual, we have Whole Foods, we have Buffalo Wild Wings. So there's not a one size fits all when it
Because
comes.
you do soda as well. It's not just beer.
Right. Our phrase is that we're liquid agnostic. We don't care what you dispense. We can meter and valve it and dispense it. But yeah, so it's I think it's going to come down to, you give the velvet hammer approach. You give them the information up front when they come in the door. You give them the information above or around or near the taps, and then after that, you really just you let them kind of fall into whatever bucket they want to. If they want to be super, super, I guess, hygiene focused and having like wearing gloves and sanitizers and doing that, let them do that. The people that are, like I talked to a guy the other day, he actually got the coronavirus, and he said, yeah, he's like, I go around licking doorknobs because, I can't get anything. I can't get it anymore. So you'll have people that just don't care. So I think it's, as long as you allow people to kind of experience it however they want to, and just give them that ability to do that, I think you're doing the right thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and obviously a big portion of what do customers want is like hearing from customers, right? And making sure you keep that ear to the ground and listening to what customers want. So going forward, when you have a solution that really relies on people coming in and having some close proximity together, is there anything that you've looked at in terms of delivery? I mean, obviously there's a lot of places where alcohol sales delivery wise the restrictions have been laxed. Is that something you see that they're going to return to those higher standards of alcohol delivery, or do you see that being part of this new normal?
I mean, I'm glad they've opened that up. I've actually heard some really good stories about breweries that have maintained their level of sales just through delivery, because people still want their product and they have these cult followings. And even one of our customers here in Chicago, District Brew Yards, they've got 4 breweries under one roof, and they're doing a considerable amount of business just through delivery right now. But you know, the whole idea of tasting and sampling, that's one of the big drivers for our concept and the experience. And maybe that leads to more to go, so it's like a group of people could come there, they all taste the beers they want, and then they all grab, a growler to take back to another place, one of their homes maybe. But, as far as spacing and distancing is concerned, one of the things that we've really noticed and kind of refocused on recently is when you go to any of our restaurants that have our technology, traditionally, if you're going to get a drink from any bar, restaurant, or tap room, you have to interact with someone. So you have to go to the server, which you're going to be within 6 feet of that server. You have to go to the bartender, again, 6 feet within the bartender. With our system, you get the card when you check in, and you don't actually have to be, around or near anybody. So, there's that element of it where it's like, all right, we're taking 2 steps out of the equation where you typically would have to interact with somebody, or someone would have to touch your glass or deliver it. And then the other side of that is even at one of our locations here in Chicago, Navigator Tap Room, I was there after a Cubs game, and it was packed. Like, there was standing room only, and we have 50 taps there. And there was, at any given time, there was never more than 5 people up there pouring, which meant that they were more than 10 to 12 feet apart when they were pouring. So, there was elements of it that I feel help people that are more concerned about that. Because if you're uncomfortable being around somebody, well, then you wait for the taps to open up, and then you go to the tap you want, you pour, you sample, you move on. So, I think it gives people a few options when they are ready to come back out, and they're not going to be forced to interact with a bartender or server to actually be able to dispense and taste what they want.
I love that concept of customer optionality, because it's about that spectrum of the types of customers that are going to be coming in, and how do you cater to their needs in a way that isn't that is compliant legally, and also makes them feel comfortable, and isn't breaking the bank for you.
Right. Yeah, and efficiency wise, I mean, I just had a call this morning with a large, actually in New York, a large events venue. They're looking at using our technology for deployment this summer. And for outdoor concerts, the typical transaction time is upwards of a minute to a minute and a half. So it's, hey, I'd like to order this for a beer or a product. I have to pay you, and then I have to wait for you to get it. So with our system, it's about a 10-second interaction.
No way. So I didn't realize it's not just like a big install in location. You can have pop-up locations and.
Yep. Yeah. So we're looking at some concert venues that really want to implement our technology for speed of service and speed of access. Because again, our average transaction time is less than 10 seconds, whereas traditionally it's about a minute to 2 minutes if you look at any type of other method of dispense.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. So, that's exciting, and I think that as we kind of get to, the venues, and as people get more and more comfortable going out and being around people, I think that technologies like yours that limit the human interaction and increase the customer optionality of getting what they want, how they want it, when they want it, is phenomenal. So as you're sitting here, talking to these, the listeners that we have going to be restaurant owners and operators, what piece of advice would you have for them as they're opening back up now?
This just kind of popped into my head, but I think of Minnesota. When I was in Minnesota a few years ago, I'd never been there before, But in Minneapolis, when the weather breaks and it's nice, the positive energy that is just abundantly everywhere. Like you go outside and they're just smiling from ear to ear. They're doing, they've been hibernating, for most of the winter because, winters in Minneapolis are pretty bad. So my advice would be, emulate the way that Minnesota treats the spring with the reopening of your restaurant. Just love your customers. Talk to them. Just help build that community back with them, so they come. You don't want to. I heard a phrase the other day. Well, actually, you heard it too. Commission breath. You don't want to have commission breath with your customers coming in the door. You just want to be genuinely happy to see them, and genuinely thankful and grateful for them coming back, and tell them that you missed them, because they missed you too. So I think getting that warm reception back is really going to help them feel a lot more comfortable about coming back, and just being appreciative, being grateful and appreciative for their business, and keeping that positive vibe.
Dude, I love that. So here are my takeaways. One, prepare for your grand reopening. Think of it as a grand reopening, and realize that that's going to come in phases based on demographics and psychographics and health. So I think that's great. Two, stay safe, but not hospital safe. Don't make yourself look like an ER. Three, optionality for customers, right? Making sure that you can fit your customers' needs and have multiple ways. If they want it, they could use it, things like that. And then four, I love that. The gratitude, man. Just be that influence for good, be that light, because people are going to need it. And you want to metaphorically embrace them as they come back. But maybe for people like me who are huggers, we need to work on keeping our distance. Well, Josh, how do people find you or your company?
Yeah, PourMyBeer.com, at PourMyBeer for Instagram and Facebook. Twitter, obviously we're on that. LinkedIn. We're actually creating a group specifically for restaurant owners that are preparing to come back to this new normal. So yeah, any of those, we're very receptive and responsive to anything.
Awesome. Well, Josh, today's ovation goes to you for being rock star, for helping people keep those taps a-flowing, whether it be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, liquid agnostic. Love that, man. Appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate the good that you're putting out there. And yeah, grateful that you came on, Josh.
All right. Thanks, Zach. You're the man.
Glad you're with us today, and thank you. Thank you to the risk takers, the troublemakers, the crazies who are keeping this world clothed and fed. You're the ones who deserve an ovation. Again, this podcast was sponsored by Ovation. To see how we can help you grow your business, go to ovationup.com. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, remember to give someone in your life an ovation today.